The chill of the Seattle rain seemed to seep into my bones, mirroring the cold dread that had taken root in my heart. My name is Alaric, and until recently I considered myself a fortunate man. At 43, I had a fulfilling career as a software engineer, a comfortable home overlooking Puget Sound, and a wife, Bronte, who I adored. We'd been together for 15 years, married for 12, and I genuinely believed we were building a life of enduring happiness. I was wrong. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Bronte, a vibrant and outgoing marketing manager, began working late more often. I chalked it up to a demanding new project. Her phone, once an open book, became fiercely guarded. She'd flinch if I so much as glanced at it, her excuse always being, "Work stuff you wouldn't understand." I wanted to trust her, I desperately did, but a gnawing unease began to consume me. The intimacy between us dwindled. The warm embraces, the spontaneous kisses, the shared laughter, all replaced by a strained politeness. We were like roommates, coexisting in the same space but emotionally worlds apart. I tried to talk to her, to bridge the widening gap, but she'd deflect, dismiss, or simply claim she was tired. I started feeling like I was losing her, but didn't know how to stop it. The first real crack in our carefully constructed facade appeared during a weekend getaway to the San Juan Islands. We'd planned it for months, envisioning romantic hikes, cozy dinners by the fireplace, and a chance to reconnect. Instead, Bronte was distant and preoccupied. She spent hours on her phone, ostensibly dealing with urgent work matters. One evening, while she was supposedly on a conference call, I decided to take a walk along the beach. The salty air and the rhythmic crashing of waves usually calmed me, but that night I was restless. As I strolled, I noticed a familiar figure silhouetted against the moonlight. It was Bronte, not on a conference call but locked in an intimate embrace with a man I didn't recognize. My world tilted on its axis. The ground beneath my feet seemed to crumble. I stood there frozen, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. Bronte, my Bronte, the woman I loved and trusted, was betraying me. The man was tall, athletic, and had a confident swagger about him. They kissed with a passion that made my stomach churn. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but I was paralyzed by shock and disbelief. I retreated back to our cabin, my mind reeling. I couldn't confront her then, not in that state. I needed to process what I had witnessed, to formulate a plan. I spent a sleepless night wrestling with my emotions: anger, hurt, confusion, and a profound sense of betrayal. How could she do this to me? What had I done to deserve this? The next morning, Bronte acted as if nothing had happened. She made small talk, suggested activities, and even tried to initiate physical intimacy. I recoiled at her touch, my heart heavy with disgust. I couldn't pretend any longer. "Who was that man, Bronte?" I asked, my voice trembling. She froze, her eyes widening in alarm. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, her face paling. "I saw you, Bronte, last night on the beach. Don't insult my intelligence by denying it." Her facade crumbled. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I felt no sympathy, only a cold detachment. "Alaric, I can explain," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Explain what?" "Explain how you've been lying to me for months. Explain how you've been betraying our marriage. Explain how you've shattered my trust." She launched into a rambling explanation about feeling neglected, about needing excitement in her life, about how it just happened. I listened in stony silence, my heart hardening with each word. Her justifications were pathetic, self-serving, and utterly devoid of remorse. She never mentioned the name of the man, just kept saying it was a mistake. "Who is he, Bronte?" I demanded, my voice rising. She hesitated, then mumbled, "His name is Griffin. He's a colleague from work." "A colleague, of course, the perfect cover. How long has this been going on?" She wouldn't meet my gaze. "A few months," she admitted, her voice barely audible. A few months. Months of lies, deception, and betrayal. Months of me being a clueless fool. The pain was unbearable, a crushing weight on my chest. I felt like I couldn't breathe. "I want a divorce," I said, the words coming out like shards of glass. "I want you out of my life." She started to cry, begging me to reconsider, promising to end the affair, vowing to change. But it was too late. The trust was gone, irrevocably broken. I couldn't forgive her, and I didn't want to. The next few weeks were a blur of legal paperwork, tense conversations, and emotional turmoil. Bronte moved out, taking with her a suitcase full of clothes and a lifetime of memories that were now tainted by her infidelity. I threw myself into my work, seeking solace in the familiar rhythm of coding. I spent hours at my computer, losing myself in lines of code, trying to block out the pain. But it was no use. The image of Bronte and Griffin on the beach haunted me, replaying in my mind like a broken record. My friends, Gideon and Jasper, were incredibly supportive. They listened to my rants, offered advice, and tried to distract me with nights out, but nothing seemed to fill the void in my heart. I was adrift, lost in a sea of grief and anger. One evening, Gideon suggested I hire a private investigator. "Find out everything, Alaric," he said. "Know the truth, no matter how ugly it is. It will help you move on." I was hesitant at first. I didn't want to wallow in the details of Bronte's affair, but Gideon's words resonated with me. I needed closure, and the only way to get it was to uncover the full extent of her betrayal. I hired a reputable investigator named Theron. He was discreet, professional, and thorough. Within a week, he presented me with a detailed report, complete with photos and documentation. The report confirmed my worst fears. Bronte and Griffin's affair had been going on for much longer than she had admitted, nearly a year. They had been traveling together on company dime, using business trips as opportunities for clandestine rendezvous. They had even discussed leaving their respective spouses to start a new life together. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Theron had uncovered evidence that Bronte had been systematically siphoning money from our joint account, transferring it to a secret offshore account. She had been planning to leave me for months, and she had been preparing to take a significant portion of our assets with her. I was stunned. Not only had she betrayed me emotionally, but she had also betrayed me financially. Her actions were calculated, cold-blooded, and utterly ruthless. The anger that had been simmering beneath the surface finally erupted. I was no longer just hurt and sad. I was furious. I wanted to make her pay for what she had done, to expose her lies and deceit to the world. I contacted my lawyer, Ingrid, and presented her with Theron's findings. She was appalled by Bronte's behavior and assured me that we had a strong case for a fraud claim. We amended the divorce petition, adding the financial misconduct charges. Ingrid also suggested we notify Bronte's employer about her misuse of company funds for personal travel. The news of the amended divorce petition and the potential fraud charges sent Bronte into a panic. She called me, begging me to drop the charges, promising to return the money, claiming she had been acting out of desperation. But I refused to back down. I wanted her to face the consequences of her actions. "You betrayed me, Bronte," I said, my voice cold and unwavering. "You lied to me, you stole from me, and you tried to destroy my life. Now it's your turn to pay the price." Her employer launched an internal investigation, which confirmed that Bronte had indeed been using company funds for personal travel and expenses. She was promptly fired from her job, her reputation in tatters. Griffin, too, faced repercussions. His wife, upon learning of the affair, filed for divorce and took him for everything he had. He lost his house, his car, and his financial security. The divorce proceedings were contentious, but ultimately I prevailed. The judge ruled in my favor, awarding me a significant portion of our assets and ordering Bronte to repay the stolen funds. She was left with nothing, her life in ruins. I won, but the victory felt hollow. I had exposed Bronte's lies, ruined her reputation, and stripped her of her financial security. But none of it brought me any real satisfaction. The pain of her betrayal still lingered, a dull ache in my heart. I decided to sell our house and move to a different part of Seattle, a neighborhood with new energy and fresh perspectives. I needed a clean break, a chance to rebuild my life from scratch. I started taking art classes, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time for. I found solace in the creative process, expressing my emotions through color and form. I made new friends, people who appreciated me for who I was, not for who I was married to. One day, while browsing a local art gallery, I met a woman named Isolde. She was a talented sculptor with a kind heart and a warm smile. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her intelligence and her passion for art. We started dating, and I slowly began to open up to her about my past. She listened without judgment, offering empathy and understanding. She helped me heal from the wounds of betrayal and rediscover my capacity for love. With Isolde, I found a new beginning, a chance to build a relationship based on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. I learned that even after the most devastating heartbreak, it is possible to find happiness again. It takes time, courage, and a willingness to let go of the past. Bronte, on the other hand, never recovered. She struggled to find a new job, her reputation forever tarnished by her actions. She drifted from relationship to relationship, never finding lasting happiness. She became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the devastating consequences of betrayal and deceit. I often think about Bronte, not with anger or resentment, but with a sense of pity. She made a series of choices that ultimately destroyed her life. She chose to betray my trust, to lie and deceive, to prioritize her own selfish desires over the well-being of our marriage. And in the end, she paid the ultimate price. As for me, I emerged from the ashes of betrayal a stronger and more resilient man. I learned the importance of self-respect, the value of true friendship, and the power of forgiveness not for Bronte, but for myself. Life is unpredictable, and heartbreak is an inevitable part of the human experience. But it is how we respond to adversity that defines us. We can choose to be consumed by anger and bitterness, or we can choose to heal, to grow, and to create a new and better future for ourselves. I chose the latter, and I am grateful for every step of the journey, even the painful ones. For they have led me to where I am today, a man who has learned from his mistakes, who has found love again, and who is finally at peace with himself. Years later, I received a message from a mutual acquaintance. Bronte was living a quiet, solitary life, working a menial job and seemingly resigned to her fate. There was no gloating, no satisfaction, just a profound sadness. I had moved on, built a new life filled with love and art, while she remained trapped in the consequences of her choices. I realized then that karma, in its own way, always finds a balance. My story is not one of revenge, but of survival. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the possibility of finding happiness even after the deepest betrayal. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope remains, waiting to be kindled into a new dawn. I hope my story resonates with you and offers a glimmer of hope if you're facing similar challenges. Remember, you are stronger than you think, and you deserve to find happiness again. Never give up on yourself.